Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you are in this ever-expanding moment. Welcome to the Pleiadian Essential Show in association with Pleiadian Express Productions. Today you are listening to Bridget Rao and Rocking Larry Locken talking to Dolly Indigo Star. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, great.
I'm doing great, Bridget. Doing great. I'm looking forward to the show. And Dolly, welcome aboard. And it's good to have you here all the way from the UK.
So Dolly, I had found her through Facebook. It was kind of just, I was scrolling through my feed and I saw a post pop up that a friend had shared and it just really resonated with me. And I can't even remember what exactly was in the post, but it was enough for make me go to your page, comment, and message you to find out if you'd want to do a show, because I figured what better way to get the information than to just talk to you directly. But if you want to give everybody a little bit of a rundown of like who you are and the page that you run and how this all began for you, I think we can jump in from there and just see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, I'm Dolly and I own Starseed, Star Children page on Facebook. I started out doing a few posts of my own and finding other posts that resonated with me, a little bit like yourself, and just got to know people a little bit and started to put out there what I feel like being a human and living on this planet, and how I felt a bit like alone here, and then discovered that I wasn't alone here in the way I was thinking. And the word starseed was mentioned to me about 10 years ago, and it really, really resonated with me. And basically, I've been a voice to help other starseeds and just connected to as many as I can possibly across the world. And my page has been up and growing ever since, and I have so many contact me each week, that thank me for what I'm doing, and it's just all part of our service and mission here, so to share with others. So it started from there.
I love that. And I feel like a lot of the star seed people end up kind of doing that. We're waking up and we're kind of reaching out to help each other. Now, I know your focus, you work a lot with the what people would call indigo, crystal, rainbow children.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about how you got into that, or how, I know you have, how many kids you have too?
I have three children.
Three?
Yes.
Three.
Yes, two are grown up and one's in their 20s, my other's in her late teens, and I've got a very small baby, 18 months. Yes.
Oh, so little. So
Yeah.
are they kind of like what influenced you into working with the crystal children and things like that? Like, how did you know that you had these children that were special or different?
No, I guess it was their characteristics and little things that they did. My eldest child is very academic. He's very computerized, and he can sit and write computer programs, and he loves movies and things like that, and loved school. My second child, she's very creative, loves music, and got kicked out of school at the age of 13. They just said that this wasn't the place for her to be, and that she asks questions that they can't answer, and that she'd rather sit in her class and play guitar than learn about history and, of wars and things like that. And when she put this forward to them, they segregated her and, said that she wasn't complying with their rules. And, she was very much, a different child from very small. She didn't want to do homework. She was, hey, that's for school, I'm out of school now, I want to play. So she's a rainbow child, what I'd call a rainbow child. And then I've got my new little boy who's very, very in tune with everything and is just a whirlwind of like chaos. And you know, his indigo starseed origins definitely shine through. He looked up a couple of weeks ago, he can't talk properly yet, and looked at the moon and said moon. So, you know, one of his first words was moon, and I haven't learned him that. It's something naturally within him that he's come out and recognized moon. So, you
That's
know.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And I can't believe that they would do that to a young girl who's asking questions, to just segregate her and throw her out because I mean, I don't know how the school systems are there. I mean, I went to a school where there was a lot of people who were kind of just what you would call an asshole, but they never threw them out.
Yeah, she was thrown. I was given an option for her to be permanently excluded or for her to go to another school or a private school, and you know, that wasn't an option, so I homeschooled and took her out. But she was very interested in crystals growing up, and nature, and you'd always find her barefoot, naked, or out in nature, you know. So
Right.
it was evident that my kids were different, you know.
So, I know that you work with people with ADD and ADHD,
Yeah.
which, if listeners don't know, which I'm sure most of them do, it's a attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're probably going to agree on this, that a lot of times they're telling us that our kids are ADD or whatever because they're not programmed to just sit in a class and listen.
Yes.
How do you help these people to realize, like how did you get into that, and what is your take on all of that type of stuff?
Well, going back to how I first got into it, I've always worked with people in a supportive role. I started out working with women and children who'd suffered domestic violence. And then I went on to work with people with severe learning disabilities and working in the community with them and enabling them to live in their own homes. So basically it's listening skills and being able to listen to someone. And obviously I had my last child, and somebody knew me previously from where I worked, and they asked me if I'd like to privately work for them and work with their son who'd been diagnosed with Asperger's, ADHD and ADD. And I thought about it for a while and thought, you know, I don't know anything about, you know, these things. And I started to do a little bit of reading up on things. And I was reading through things, and I was like answering questions that I'd been asking, and thinking to myself, well, have I got ADHD? Am I ADD? Have I got schizophrenia, bipolar? Am I all these things? Am I a combination? And the answer was no. I'd seen doctors previously for things, and I'd got none of these conditions. Yet, with all the conditions listed, I had a resemblance. So I just went along and decided I'm going to give this a go, you know, and it started from there. We made such a connection, you know, I listened, could relate, and I've learned as I've gone along to learn more about the condition and what it brings and how it affects us. And it sounds like from reading it, we've all got a touch of, you know, whatever they've listed down. If you put us in as indigo children or star children, you know, we can't all possibly have these same disorders. And
it's so funny that you would.
Yeah, that would be more amazing. That would be more amazing than anything if we all had these same conditions. But Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning about these conditions that we get labeled as ADHD, ADD, autism, and it seems like maybe we fit like 70% of each of these, but not completely.
Yeah.
And I think that the indigo children are more like they're, because I have a son with autism too, and
Hmm.
he's actually legally blind, but they're such quantum thinkers.
Yes.
That they see things such above the earth plane, and it's just
Yeah.
amazing. And I think that we just diagnose it into these other boxes. And I was really thinking about that this morning, and how much that plays in, and do all of us starseeds have a
Mm-mm.
little bit of
Well,
autism?
well,
You
scientists have come forward now, and they've been saying about our DNA and how we have junk DNA. But they're trying to say now that actually it's not junk DNA, and that within our DNA we've got little switches that we actually activate ourselves, and we can switch them on and we can switch them off. Basically, we can tune in. But because indigo kids and star kids, they are wired on a higher frequency, they function on a higher frequency, and it's all got to do with where the planet itself is upgrading and moving through the cosmos, and how much we have upgraded technologically and within the matrix. This has triggered our switches to go on. So we're being born differently. There's a new human that's arriving on the planet, and they're choosing to be incarnated here because they're remembering their past lives, their past experiences, and they're bringing them all with them now, and they're switching them on. So when you talk to 8 kids with ADHD and ADD, they know easily how to turn these switches on because they're so highly vibrating at such a high frequency, and they're so sensitive, which is, why they're so affected by the planetary movements and the cosmic movements and the movements of humanity itself. It's a really confusing place for them, but they know these switches. They know they've got these switches. Yeah.
That is just like everything you just said it was so articulately put in a way that is exactly how I feel. And it's funny that you would mention how you were looking into all of these symptoms and things that they say is a characteristic of ADD or ADHD or whatever. Because when I was awakening and I was down in my basement reading and researching, I started to think that I had something wrong with me, and I looked into schizophrenia
Yeah.
and all that. And I realized, I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. And I even thought, like, oh, look at all these people we've been locking up for years saying that they're crazy.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're just tuned into something else. My fiance's son is diagnosed with autism, but I can communicate with him on a telepathic level. Like, I know what's wrong with him from another level of the house.
Yeah.
And the problem that I think they're having is the fact that the teachers and the parents a lot of times aren't tuned in, and they don't know how to handle this higher frequency. So
they just see them as troublesome kids that, are creating a lot of drama and attention. But, for some of these kids, they're absolutely locked. It's like being locked in a prison cell, to them.
right, and it's sad because it's really weird because I had a reading given to me a while ago that said that I was supposed to help these kids, and I just don't know where to start or how to help them. I mean, so what do you do when you work with people? How do you help them to feel better, or to like realize that it's not ADHD, or like do you teach them any techniques about like blocking energies or
Yeah, I do teach them how to center their energy, and that's a simple technique that we can all use. It's used for people when they're having panic attacks or an episode, what we call an episode. with ADHD when they get very excited or excitable, because some of them lose focus. They can't see what's going on around them. They can have sensory overload that could be triggered by lights or noise, or people, too many people, crowds. So what I say to my client is stop for a moment, close your eyes, feel it where it is in your actual body, feel where the panic is, because when we feel panic we usually feel it somewhere in our bodies, and center on that moment and just breathe through it and know that in a couple of minutes it will pass and that your vision will come back. And it's actually worked. That technique has actually worked. He's used it and he said it worked, and I came back to center. So it's just about centering your being, basically. When you get really overwhelmed and you can't focus, it's good to stop, because you're doing too much. There's sensory overload going on. You have to stop.
Definitely.
If you could touch on a little bit, how frustrating is it sometimes, though, to deal with? It seems like you have parents, a system, and you have parents that also have extreme tunnel vision, whereas their children have complete peripheral vision. And these parents just seem as a burden. And the problem is they have such tunnel vision, and they're not willing to open up their minds or expand. And on another note, as far as that goes, I know you've worked with these children, but how many adults have you ran across you would consider a star seed, just from your own intuition, or that would even know about the subject, where you're located?
Do you want me to be really honest? Every single person I meet, every single person I meet has either got some something they know it's calling them, and it's we have to put into reality here of what starseed is. We're not a super hyper advanced race sent directly from another planet to be here. What we are is human beings, because we're in human bodies. But like I said earlier, we've activated, and what we've done is we've activated our starseed origins. We've activated that part within ourselves, because everything has been brought forward. So our kids are being brought forward differently. These new ones are being incarnated here because we've actually willed them to come. We've been putting that message out for years, hundreds of years, for something to come, for something to change, for a new humanity to arrive. And they've arrived, and we've activated that evolutionary within ourselves. We've flicked on the starseed switches and began to answer our own questions of where we've come from. And it's been proven now that, our DNA is different and it's evolving, and it's already changed 7% since they took tests from Neanderthal, So if we've changed 7% increase, that's quite a lot in DNA. So humanity has accessed something. We've tapped into that. And so, everyone I meet, usually they've tapped into that frequency of their starseed selves, and they're beginning to recognize the traits, and they just know that this earth is not their true home, and they know that they are from somewhere else out there in the cosmos, a collection of souls and spirits that have been worked through each planet in upgrades to get here to this one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, really wise souls that have been coming in since probably the early 90s, especially. They've been born with their chakras completely wide open. I know a book I read one time called them Homo Noeticus, because they're such all-around thinkers. They're not really left-right decision makers. They see the whole picture at once. They're kind of like hybrid human beings. They're both A lot of them are both athletic and they're really smart. You know, they're not just one or the other. They
Yeah.
can read Shakespeare and they could also knock your teeth out too.
Yeah.
They're very brilliant, very old, wise souls, not very old to Earth.
No.
Most of them have probably never incarnated to Earth, except the time maybe, but most of them are older in the cosmos. And yeah, the call was put out to them a long time ago, and I think that got heard in the late 80s especially, and and henceforth they came, and before that, of course, with the previous Indigos and the Rainbow Kids and the Blu-rays. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like, I mean, everybody's kind of filling the same story in the same groove with these kids. It's just amazing.
It is. It's some people call it a phenomenon, but is it really? This is, age old. When you go back to our Lemurian selves and our Atlantean selves, we were so highly advanced and in tune, and we are still that. It's just that our little receptors have been cut off for some reason or another. Yeah.
I would be interested because this is just, I'm finding everything that you're saying is just resonating a lot, and it seems like you've been on this path for a while and you've been opened up to a lot of stuff. We touched on this a little bit ago about the channeling, and I like the description you gave me about how that all started for you and how you don't even really consider it channeling. I didn't know if you could touch on that again for the listeners.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even put it as channeling. It was just a part of myself that I was listening to. It was like a visual radio wave, aligning in my head, if you sort of want to put it that way. And the more I connected to people and the more we resonated, it seemed to trigger off other parts of myself that I didn't know, and I began to channel artwork. I did a series of artwork, and I've never ever done art before, and all of a sudden I started to do art, and I'd got all these light beings and things coming through, and people started to want to buy my drawings and said that they really felt a connection, and where did these come from? And I was like, well, they're channeled, they come from me, and other little things that I write, it's like I can just start writing and typing, and it's like the rest of the world just shuts off for a moment, and I become at one with everything, and I can literally just go in and access what I need to access, as in for knowledge or for personal purposes. I never channel for anybody else. I just channel for myself and for personal things, and just to find out answers, and they've been really revealing, and sometimes for confirmation, because you do question these things. Am I hearing what I'm hearing, or is this right, or am I just making this totally all up? Where is this shit coming from? And then you go and research it, and then you're absolutely blown away, because what you've heard from within yourself is what you're seeing as fact and not fiction, and it sort of does rock your world a little bit,
Definitely. It makes so much sense to me now why I was so drawn to you. I've had similar experiences where I just started drawing out of nowhere, and I didn't even realize at the time that I was drawing these pictures that they were being channeled. And in that same reading I was just telling you about, where they said it was supposed to help children, they were saying that my art, and this was somebody who didn't know that I drew anything, was saying that there's frequencies within the art that will help people, and when they see that, it like turns something on for them or whatever. But I also do the same thing with like automatic writing. I'll sit down and just start writing, and it will come out, whether it's a poem or a channeled message. And I haven't really been comfortable to just do it on a one-on-one thing, like people have asked me if I could channel them a question or whatever, and I'm starting to get to that point where I think I could maybe tap in and help them to find their answers. But everything that you say, I feel like a total resonance with, because I feel like we've done a lot of the same stuff over the years, or had the same stuff happen. So,
but I've had physical interactions with angels. I've had UFO experiences from the age of 3, and I've seen a few beings. I've seen many craft. I've been in a few craft, but a few years ago, about 8 years ago, what really kicked everything in was this number that I kept seeing was 333. It kept waking me up in the middle of the night. It was there night and day. It was there, this number 333, and I went on a huge quest for what 333 was. But at the time, there was a really high presence of extraterrestrial activity. And it just started the ball even more for me for asking questions. And that's when it really resonated with me that I was one of these indigo kids, what they've labeled as indigo, you know, because these questions, I was answering them from within and from astral travel and from ET connection. And it's been really hard to come out and say to people that, you know, I have ET activity and things that go on that I can't explain without people looking at me that like I'm totally crazy. But I've actually got over that now because of the amount of things that I have seen. I've just thought, oh, fuck it, it's there and that's it. I've got to deal with it, you know, and this is real, you know, it's not made up. Or, you know, you see many clips of people telling their stories and you know, what's happened to them. And after what's happened to me, I would never, ever discredit anyone for their experiences.
right. And it's so your experiences now, because I've seen people who've been abducted. Have you
Yeah.
What has happened with you, and have they been?
Oh, she's disappeared. Hello.
Hey, I think Bridget
Hey.
left out of the. I think Bridget accidentally got booted out of the room. She'll be right back in though. It happens a lot. So, like a lot of people, this really resonates with me too. A lot of what you're saying, because the channeling, it just comes to us. It's like awakened conscious telepathy. At least that's the way I would describe most of my contacts. It's not like I'm getting into some really deep mindset and going, you know, chanting Om for 1,000 hours, or
Exactly.
sitting on a floor in a meditative position like some 70s New Age fruitcake. But it's just all these opportunities are open to us now.
Yes.
I mean, it's like tuning into a radio station, right? And you talked about the indigo children, and of course, you've had them around for decades and decades, you know, with the Blu-rays before them, and then it was the 80s indigos came in, and it's just amazing. And you know what? It really is resonating when you meet other people that have similar stories. I know, you know, you talk about the number 333. I see the number 23 in conjunction with everything, and of course I see 1111 and 444 like that, and the other numbers too. But I think that these numbers hold more of a clue for us than even the mainstream starseed community is starting to discuss now, or they're just starting to talk about these things. These things are clues to us. To they're not only just reminders that spirit and angels are around us at all time, but they're also clues for us as far as the number of times that we see these things, when, and you know, whatnot. And there is Bridget. Bridget, hi, you're back. I thought so anyway. Okay. Well, her mic is muted.
No, I am back. Somebody removed me.
Oh.
I'm back.
Okay.
I don't even remember what I was saying. I think I was just asking
Well,
You were.
Larry was just saying about numbers appearing in his life, and people in the starseed community are just picking up now that numbers has a hell of a lot more than what we are knowing, and basically, maybe that could possibly be to do with our divine blueprints. Perhaps we're accessing those binary codes within our DNA. Perhaps
Right.
it's, situations that are activation points, like little light beacons. So perhaps it's our little light mark, 1111, or, or 333, 222, because they say that they're angel numbers. And when you look at the universe and how everything is made within a binary sequence, everything is binary code, okay? That's right. Everything
Right.
is numerology, everything, So it makes sense that these numbers are going to appear to us, and they are accessing, they're perhaps our access portals to perhaps switch on those little DNA switches, Because if we learn everything all
Yeah,
at
they.
once, we'd be bombarded, wouldn't we? Too much information to take in. But activated
I
at
think.
certain points,
Yeah, I think it helps us travel up and down that spiral, our DNA spiral.
Yeah.
You see some crop circles, in fact, that are, communicated in spiral form. So these numbers coincided with the spiral. I mean, I think there's something to that. And I mean, I think that once, of course, we figure this stuff out, of course, then we're like, okay, well, yeah, we knew that already. So
Yeah.
it's just about a resonance and waking up to remembering a lot of this. And so the
Yeah.
more star seeds like us converse, the more we
Yeah.
converse, you know what I mean, the more it triggers, you to think some or me to think
Absolutely.
something, or, and
Yeah.
so it goes.
Yeah, and I'm quite lucky that here where I live in Devon, I've got an instant access. I can go up to Avebury anytime and access those crop circles, which I have seen with my own eyes. And I go up to Stonehenge quite a lot, and when it's open on solstices, and feel the energy there and the vibration of the people. And it's true, your vibe attracts your tribe. And when you see all thousands of people that are there for the same reasons, and you hear them all talking about activation and codes and light, it's amazing. This is age old. It's not new age, it's old age. Look at Stonehenge, and we're
It's
still gathering
old
there.
age.
We're still gathering there.
Yeah. Well, while you're on the subject, talk a little bit about then some of the experiences you've had with the energy at Stonehenge. Describe what that's
Oh,
like to actually
wow.
be around that. Yeah, put that in your own words if you
Oh,
could.
wow. Well, to me, I'd had this huge calling to go for years and years. I really, something was calling me to go there. And we finally went, and it's just awe-inspiring. I could say it's out of this world, but it's all according on what the individual feels, how you resonate with it, how you vibrate with that energy that's flowing through there. And to me, all I wanted to do was go up there and touch those stones, and that's the first thing I did, was place my hands both on the stones and shut my eyes and just say thank you. And I did that, and then after a couple of hours spending around the stone, you watch the people coming up to Stonehenge for the first time, and you know what? Every single person did the same thing. Each person that goes there is straight away compelled to touch the stones. Now, to me, those stones flow with such a high vibrational frequency, you can feel them at least a mile away. Before you get there, you can feel the vibration of the stones. And it's like a little bit that you're lost in another world while you're up there. You feel like, I felt for me that I was part of my ancestral tribe. I can remember putting my hands on the grass and thinking my ancestors are under here, and I've come back to say, thank you and pay tribute. And it's true that it is a burial ground, and that many pilgrims from across Europe have travelled thousands of miles, you know, on foot back then to get there to these stones to be buried. So it has such, you know, a significance. All of the stone circles do, that are placed around the globe. We've got another one in Africa, Johannesburg, the Adams calendar. And it was really strange, a couple of years ago, somebody contacted me from Johannesburg and said, I felt compelled to contact you. Do you know why that is? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm going to Stonehenge today. And this person contacted me back and they said, I spent last night and the day at Adam's calendar, and I felt really compelled to get in contact with you. Would you know why that is? And I was like, oh my goodness, it's because the activation grids on the Earth and where we are in the cosmos, you know, they're all aligning, the ley lines and all those grids, they're all connecting. And the people, you know, that are helping connect them by raising the vibrations, they will feel these energies and they will begin to connect. And, you know, that's my take on Stonehenge, that they've got such a deep connection, but astronomically and star-wise, and I could say it's a portal, but you know, who knows what Stonehenge is for.
It's really odd that you mentioned Johannesburg. Just 2 days ago here in America, I was in my corner store, and there was a gentleman in front of me with an accent, and I asked him if he was from South Africa, and he said, yeah, how could you tell? And I said, well, I know the different dialects, and he is from Johannesburg. He lived in Johannesburg his whole life until about 10 years ago. I mean, how weird is that? And then you bring that up.
Yeah.
You mentioned the energy around Stonehenge and feeling that as you're approaching, like within a mile or so.
Yeah.
How would you describe that? Does the frequency just pick up? Is there more of a pulse tone, like a more of an attuning kind of sound in the ear? Is it more,
yeah, you get all of that, but I would say that the feeling is more from a deep intuitive, a higher self knowing, a connection within. And I felt it in my hands, and you know, I felt like my whole body was vibrating, you know, but you know, you tune in, and it's pretty hard to tune in around there with 1,000 or 50-odd thousand other people, you know, having a party around there. Sadly, unfortunately, that's what Stonehenge has become these days. It's the ceremonies and things still go on up there, but we've got a lot of people taking advantage of the actual real meaning of Stonehenge, and you know, that vibration can get lost a little bit when you're in that.
Yeah, can it get lost in, like you mentioned, people having a party there and kind of turn it into kind of a novelty thing, the Stonehenge? Can your energy get absorbed by that situation a little bit, and like other agendas around it? I don't know if that makes sense, but
yes. Yeah, you can get very easily distracted, but you know, you can very easily tune in as well. It depends, you know, on what kind of person you are. And me, you know, being a bit of an indigo, I want to know every single person that's there and meet everyone and love everyone and greet everyone and find out about everyone. So, you know, for me, it was a meeting place for starseeds to connect, and you know, I connected with so many there that really know that they're starseeds.
That's awesome. I mean, I where I am, we don't have, you know, a lot of these places to go to, but I've been called to go to America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire. Me and my friends have just been talking about that recently, and the same day we were talking about it, another person from our community actually went up there and was posting pictures of them traveling around. So I'm wondering if I'm tuning into that because I need to go get those like downloads of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. it does change you when you go to a stone circle. It does change you because, you know, it does. It just does. If you're on that vibration anyway, and you're on that path, and you resonate with, you know, what's going on there and your true higher self, it will have a meaning for you personally, you know. So every person, it's got its own individual meaning, you know. Some people I spoke to around there, and they was like, oh, I ain't felt anything, you know, I felt nothing at all. Do you feel a vibration here? And I just sit there and think, you know, it depends on what you're doing, which way you're flowing, you know. Are you trying too hard? It's a different experience. Some people think that they're going to go there and, you know, energy is going to come out of the rocks, and they're going to, you know, not be able to touch them because they're so sacred, and that's just not true. You know, you go there, and it's like any place you go in the world, it's how it resonates with you personally.
Right. And I find that with just about anything.
Yeah.
People go in with expectations on just about anything, whether it's a Reiki session, or if it's getting a reading, or if it's going to a sacred site. You never know until you do it. And I think it depends on how open you are to receive, without an expectation. That's what, like, the new paradigm that I do is all about. It's loving without conditions.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the best way to be, is to just go in and not have any conditions or expectations set. So I wanted to ask you too, because in the bio that you had given me, it said that you are in a relationship with your twin, and that seems to be a huge thing for people. They always want to know, how did you find them? How did you know? So if you could let our people know how you found them.
I think we sort of found each other, if that's possible. Our paths had crossed a couple of times, and we just ended up together, you know, and decided that we'd give it a go, and we've been working through it for 23 years, and here we are, you know, 3 children later, and we're not married, and we just felt such a huge soul connection to each other from day one. You know, it's that feeling that you've known someone all your life, and that you've known them before, you know, the old sayings, oh, you've been there all my life, and it's really true. It really felt like that, and it's, you know, we're part of each other. He's, you know, we're a negative and a positive that create a balance, and we work through issues when we get them, and we just focus on the relationship at hand, and, you know why we're together, and keep focusing on our mission here together.
You could always give Stonehenge the credit. I did have one question I wanted to ask you about Stonehenge, though, before we moved on from that.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated with it, and worried, though, that do people ever try to vandalize it? I mean, are those rocks so strong? I mean, you couldn't possibly try to kick one over. Or do people try to screw with that area?
Yeah, they do. The last time that I went, somebody was actually arrested because they'd climbed up on top of the stones and decided to take selfies and post it, you know, to media sites, you know. But unfortunate for that guy, his night was over, and that was it, you know. He was thrown out and spoilt it for, you know, 40 or 50 other thousand people that were there. So unfortunately it does get vandalized, and the mess there after solstice is really heartbreaking, really. That was what stuck with me. One of the first times that I went there was all the rubbish that was just left, you know, and it was just heartbreaking, really, you know. And it's security. We've got security up there. There is a police presence up there. You know.
So it sounds like, unfortunately, most of the tourism that goes there is really a bunch of clueless, stupid asses that really have no business even going there anyway. is what I'm
Yes.
hearing. That's too bad. That's too bad. Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I'm just being realistic, I could cover it up and say,
Oh
hey,
yeah.
Stonehenge is great, you'll have a wonderful experience, but if I'm really
Not if you're not awake. If you're just
yeah,
some dipshit from London or anywhere in
yeah,
the world that are going there to see it, if you're not in tune to awakening or in tune to
absolutely,
extraterrestrials,
yeah,
please
yeah.
stay the fuck away from there.
Yeah,
Don't go
we
there.
saw actually
I mean,
while I was
hopefully, maybe your plane gets in a wreck on the way there if you don't have the pure intentions. I'm
Larry!
sorry. Fuck 'em,
Larry.
really.
Don't put that
I
out
mean,
there.
really
You're going to be
though. I mean,
killing people.
Oh God.
oh, I know. Well, they'll get to redo it in another life, but it's just so. I've always found it so fascinating, Stonehenge, and it really breaks my heart to hear that people go there not just to vandalize, but people would just go there to look at it. They don't have
Yeah.
any peripheral vision. They just want to
No.
see some rocks that they could
Yeah.
see outside their driveway. I don't know.
Absolutely. But we did see 2 starships the last time that we was there. So, we actually, and there were some witnesses with me that also saw the starships. So we did have a visitation and they were amazed. The 2 strangers that were there, with me have made really good friends with me and are coming to spend solstice with me here. So, they were like, wow, I've never seen the starship before. And I was like, well, there you go. You've seen one now.
That's so awesome. So what did it look
Yeah.
like?
It was a glowing orange ball and it had another one that followed it. There were 2 together.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
see some here a lot. In the beginning of my awakening, they would be little, and then as things, I think as you grow more comfortable and are ready to see, then they appear to you brighter and brighter and
Yes.
bigger and bigger.
Yes, yes.
I know Larry sees a lot of stuff too. Him and I have had a lot of similar experiences. And Larry, you see a lot of orbs, right?
Yeah, tons of orbs around me all the time. Yeah, tons of orbs. Definitely have contact with them. I do some channelings with them. I've had a couple. Yeah, exactly. They blink different colors, but I
They
have
do.
seen one that is very fluorescent orange. Some of them are very fluorescent orange that blink. Some of
Yes.
them blink multi-rainbow colors. Some
Mm.
of them will do a blue or a green. And of course, I get little variations of those orbs like around me that I see visually in light, and then even in dark, in pure dark in my room at night, as long as I've got, a little bit of outside light coming in. So yeah, it's really amazing. These orbs and their translucent colors and their sphere-like likeness.
Yes.
They're not a solid. They're like a translucent, higher dimensional type of form,
Yes.
you might say.
Yeah.
And their happy faces.
Yeah.
Happy faces, smiley, little Joker type faces, smiley little faces. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
They
we
may even
see
show up on your shower curtain. They may show up in your, whatever, but they're all around. Your curtains.
we
Yeah.
see lots of them over here, Larry. We see fleet ships, we see orbs. My partner has seen a craft really, really close up. We saw one over here the same year you guys over there had the Phoenix lights. We had the same thing over here the same year. I don't know whether they were doing a lap of the whole earth, but
Probably.
we actually
Probably.
saw the same thing, and that was like, wow, that one was really
That would have been
wow.
1997 for people out there
Yes,
listening. That was like
yes,
1997. And I think there's certain portals all over the planet. I know that Stonehenge, that
absolutely.
area of the UK, has the
Yeah,
same kind of a portal, the same kind of
yeah,
beings coming through there. Over here in the Pacific Northwest, what I
yeah,
call the East Coast, what was Lemuria,
yeah.
over here in the, northern West Coast, southern Canada,
Well, it's
west
those
coastline
grids.
over here. We have like this Lemurian portal with
They're
Pleiadian ships and
connected.
all kinds of orbs.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing.
absolutely. It's all connected. All the sacred sites and sacred stone circles, they're all connected to these grids, these light grids. That we know that they're connecting all over the world. We know that. And they're connecting to us as well. us star kids. They're calling us to them, and you can't ignore that call. We have to go. So when they call you, so I'm afraid, Bridget, you've been called by yours over there in America, so you're gonna have to go.
And I actually am supposed to go see Natalie Alea to do some stuff over in Ireland, and then I was also supposed to go to Peru to do some stuff, which I really, really want to do.
Wow.
But for the time being, where my mother has been very ill and lots of stuff's been going on to keep me in this little area, I figured Stonehenge, the American Stonehenge, would be the best place to start for now. And after hearing your experiences and your stories, I'm really looking forward to going. It's almost like that thing. It's like you got a pool in your backyard that you don't use. So you got an American Stonehenge that you don't really think too much about. You think, oh, the one over there must be better. But I feel like after talking to you, and talking to Larry about it, it's all connected. And as long as you go in and, like we said, with unconditional love, no expectations, you can have that experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think so too, ladies, and I think too, like you were talking about Bridget going over there. I think though there is more of an interest in the, for the divine feminine star seeds. You guys are more adventurous. Like you like the idea of going to Peru, maybe, or like the idea of going to Stonehenge. Whereas, I'm kind of here in the Pacific Northwest, and I feel like, okay, I can read about this stuff on the internet, and I'm kind of just like, hey, I can just stay here, and maybe I'm kind of buddy-buddy. But yeah, it seems like, you just want to get out there and see those other pools, like you said, Bridget, that aren't in your backyard. Whereas I don't, I'm cool with the one in my backyard, but I don't really pay that much attention to that even, so take that for granted, kind of. But yeah, it's all connected on a grid line, isn't it?
Have you ever gone to like Sedona or anything, or are you just in your house?
Yeah, Arizona.
I have never gone to Sedona, Arizona, but I'm less than a kilometer from the Pacific Ocean, and I've got all kinds of lakes behind my house, and tribal sweat lodges, and it's just beautiful over here. I mean, everything is like kind of that I need is like right within me, but no, I still don't get out enough. But I don't really have any urge to go to Sedona. That's still, to me, quite a ways away. That's still several hours away by flight and at least a day or so by drive. I mean, it's so wide open out here in the
I was
West.
going to say, come to England. I was going to say, come to England, and I'll take you to Stonehenge. No.
His twin flame has to travel across the globe to get to him.
Oh, bless.
It's a good thing you're with a Taurus.
I should have quit while I was ahead and not brought all that up. Yeah, I don't really, but Bridget, where you're at, you've got millions and millions of people within an hour drive of you in like a million different cities. Out here, it's so wide open. It's things
beautiful.
aren't close. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're lucky over there. I don't blame you for wanting to stay home and do your stuff. And you know what? We can all access it. For those of us who don't, because it's hard to come up with the funds, especially for star seeds and people doing this type of work. It's like, how are you going to afford this?
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Did I tell you that I lived off the universe for a year with no money and everything was provided?
No, but let's hear about that, because I want to know how to do that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. I'd fallen ill through pregnancy, and I'd fell out of work, and my partner was out of work at the time, and we couldn't claim any assistance money. And it was like, okay, what is going on? And we actually discovered that we were homeless as well. We'd lost our home. And that was about 5 years ago, and I thought, well, you know what, I've got a truck. This is the truck that I'm in now, and I thought, I'm going to convert this truck. And we converted the truck, and we'd got no money, and people started to help us out. There was always a meal every day. We'd meal share, we'd food share, we'd car share, and slowly money started to present itself, work was starting to appear, and it started to flow again. But, it was through no other assistance or gains of money. We did it purely on soul work and through the generosity of other people. and we lived out of food banks and things like that, and it took us a year to get completely back on our feet, and we relied on the power of love and universal love and other people's love, and it came through. So, you know, that's living proof that, you know, you don't have to go out there and earn millions of pounds or thousands of pounds. You know that everything you've got and need is right here, and if you need something, it will present itself and appear. And that's what happened with us. If we needed anything, we would ask and it would just appear, or somebody would turn up with it. So I don't know, call it divine intervention, I don't know, but I guess our faith in love and the characters of people that we are and the work that we do, you know, that's how we received assistance.
That's awesome, and it's a good testament to the power of attraction, and I think a lot of people end up going through moments like that where it's almost like you have absolutely nothing, nowhere left to go, whether it's just because it happens or through, I know a lot of people have gone through it with like having an addiction and then it brings them down to nothing. For myself, that's what happened with me. I had struggled with addiction for a long time, and then I wasn't able to. Once I kicked that, I was like a recluse. I was afraid to go out. I was afraid to make money. I was afraid to do anything because I felt like it would bring me back to that. And eventually things started to present themselves, and now I'm in a spot where I do have money coming in, and I do have resources, and I am able to reach out to the right people. It's almost like you have to go through something like that in order to be able to connect with other people who are suffering, and to have that compassion and empathy for others, and to always remember where you came from. Absolutely. So that you can help other people.
Absolutely.
And I find so many starseeds with a similar thing. Sorry.
And I think it makes us realize, too, we're starting to realize that we can see a future someday where a cashless society, and I mean, not too far off in the distance, is really the way to go. I mean, a bartering system, not being controlled by illusionary money. Money was printed for control. I was just talking with Greg Prescott the other night, the creator of N5D, about this on air. He was talking about the same thing. I mean, how much does it cost to print a $100 bill versus a $1 bill? It's the same thing. So that thing is basically just a control mechanism that took us away from it to put a control on the bartering system that, you know, normal people were doing once upon a time. But yet there's this transition phase where, yeah, I mean, those kind of things are needed and necessary, you know, and maybe it's, you know, part of our duty to show the way for that and overcome it ourselves, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't realize until you've got absolutely nothing, and that you're, you know, destitute, and, you know, everything then starts to kick in place, really. You know, do you need these things? Do you really want these things, you know, that you're craving and striving and going out for and working really hard for? And, you know, do you really need these amounts of money? And the answer is no, because you can live quite easily and happily without it. You know, until you've got none, you don't know that you can't do that until you're faced with absolutely having nothing.
You're right, and exactly.
I did. Go ahead, Bridget.
Just in the past probably 5 years, you know, I lost a lot. We lost a house. We had stuff in storage. We lost a lot of that. And now, I mean, I went from living in a 4-bedroom house to I live in a 1-room basement apartment. And I feel happier today than I ever did back then with all that stuff around me, and with, you know, having the nice cars and having a nice house. It was like you put your attention into things that don't matter. Now I'm putting my intention and attention towards things that do.
You really do. You get stuck in that world, especially here in America. You get stuck in that world of, okay, you wake up, you wonder, okay, well, what am I going to do at work? Then when you're at work, what am I going to do for lunch? At lunch, what am I going to do when I get home? What am I going to watch on TV? What am I going to When am I going to go to bed? You're never thinking of anything
Stuck
in
in
that
a
now moment. You're
cycle.
just
Yeah.
constantly stressing and tripping on what's going to happen next. And when you're not doing that, you're tripping on something that happened in the past. You know what I mean?
It's
You're
not
never
living,
living in
is
that
it?
now moment.
It's
No.
not living, it's just existence when you're caught in that spiral of entrapment. I call it programming entrapment, you know, that we are meant to follow certain criterias and just go through this whole sequence of events to obtain a decent standard of living, when it's just not true. You know, we really don't have to, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, and by
hurt
whose standard? By
ourselves.
whose standard? Yeah, exactly. And you know
Exactly.
what? I was going to bring this up, then I wasn't, but since you mentioned that, I'm going to bring this up. When I was growing up here in the 1980s in America, we had an anti-drug commercial where this guy constantly over and over, and he kept getting faster. He was like, so I can work longer, so I can make more money, so I can do more drugs, so I can work longer, so I can make more money, so I can do more drugs. And he started getting going
Mm.
faster and faster. And that's kind of like how we're kept spinning over here in America,
Yeah.
as we're just kept going faster and faster. And whether even the people over here that aren't using illegal substance to keep
Mm.
going, they're drinking about 20 shots of coffee a
Yeah.
day. And you know they're too lame and stupid to do anything real good, so they're drinking a shitload of coffee all day long, which makes them even look dumber. But you know that's just kind of how we're kept
Yeah.
wired over here, and I think society in the Western world in general.
Yeah, I think it's the same all over the world because it's exactly the same in Britain, you know, and it's that's how they want you to be, you know. They are putting more and more in rather than just subliminal programming from TV now. We've got lots of subliminal programming even on the internet. There's a lot that's in there because they want you to buy this stuff. We want you to want this stuff. We want you to want more technology. We want you to want these tasty treats. You know, because they know that what they've gone in them, the ingredients and or the combinations of programs and adverts and things, they know that they've got that specific ingredient in there that will subliminally trap you into desire. You know, it's the desire,
They
and you start
want
to
you to want
long.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
it's
want you to want me.
They want you to want their false
yeah,
pleasure. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And growing up in the 80s, and how much we were subliminally programmed right back then. There was a hell of a lot going on, but
Yeah, I did a radio talk on
even
it. I've got a talk
yeah,
on there. I got to plug this real
yeah.
quick. It's called Illuminati Control, Corporate Control 1979 to 84. And I go on for about an hour about growing up here in the States in the 80s and that switch over from the 70s kind of cool era to the 80s corporate
Mm,
control. And I know David Wilcock has talked about that before too, which I didn't know till after I said my thing. So I'm like, I
mm,
mean, come on, man. But this kind of stuff is something to everybody, especially people that are like our age, around 40, and like David, that have been around and grew
mm,
up in the 80s, and we saw that
mm,
kind of thing happen. And the UK, the
mm.
same thing. I've talked to people over in the UK
Absolutely,
going over there
absolutely.
with that
Uh,
Margaret that people you had.
yeah, and all the immunization programs, they're all the same worldwide. They are all the same, but just under different names. And, all of it is part of the programming agenda of the higher elite. It's so wrong, and as an Indigo kid, this is why we are here, talking about ourselves and what we're doing now, because we want to change. We need change, and change is here. We're doing it. People are saying, well, when is change going to come? But change is here. It's just that we're not seeing it because they don't want us to see it. They don't want to show you the good that people are doing. They only want to focus on the war, the famine, the terror, the violence, the fear, when they're not showing you actually the uprising that humanity is in right now. We're in one of the most auspicious times in history, and we're all part of
Period. Yeah.
this. and you know, we're discerning and we're using our integrity, you know, and this is what we're here for.
It's
We've
about
come
stepping
to
into our own
change.
power. It's about stepping into
Yeah,
our own power because while there's that control there, there is the internet nowadays. There are ways to hook up and network with other people. And then for a while, it's like some people, despite that, some people still were kind of still lazy in their own mentality of, that nightly program they were going to watch or, trip
mm,
on. But we're starting to awaken that, and we're all just kind of as a collective kind of having this silent revolution where we were just kind of walking away from it. You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And more and more and more people, you know, the more people I talk to, the more people are in tune. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Where are all these people that are not in tune? You know, there are many that are still not up there consciously, and that, you know, they're brainwashed. But I've noticed, you know,
They're
without sounding discriminative, but they are a
they're
certain
in a
age
region of
group.
America called Oklahoma. They're in the region of America called Oklahoma.
They're in
We'll tell
Britain
you about that
too.
later.
They
But yes,
are
yes.
here too. They are here
Are they?
too.
I
They
live with
are.
some.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they run rampant around, but they are waking up. It's just they're
Yeah.
slow to come around to it. You know,
Yeah.
even my fiance, he's very slowly coming around to things.
Not in the
Absolutely.
Pacific Northwest. We're all enlightened out here. Not in the Pacific Northwest. We kind of breathe a little different air up here. But yeah, we still got the Billy Bobs and the Jethros here. But even them in the Pacific Northwest, it's weird. They're still fairly enlightened compared to anywhere else you might go, or whether it's some
Well, I'm really, really lucky because I have
in
been.
Australia that's still throwing boomerangs or
Ah,
whatever. We've got it going on here in the Northwest.
oh, really? I'm really lucky here. I'm surrounded by communities that are more in tune with nature and, you know, live a more balanced, sustainable way of living, you know? So I'm
Yes.
quite lucky that where I
You are.
live.
You sound like you guys got a Pacific Northwest flavor going on there where you're at. You are lucky because it's like that here too in
Yeah,
my region. Nowhere else. You can go anywhere else in America besides the Pacific Northwest. And, you've got some great star seeds in those regions, but
yeah,
the consciousness is extremely low anywhere in the United States as a
yeah.
collective except in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh,
Oh,
And,
please,
absolutely.
I hope
Larry.
people get offended by I hope people get offended by that because they'll never
Absolutely
I,
not.
There's great star seeds everywhere, but the consciousness is just different.
my phone, I fell out and I come back to hear him saying that. Like, he took the perfect opportunity while I was gone to diss
Yeah,
us.
sneaky.
Did you do that intentionally?
They don't call it the least coast for nothing. The East Coast, the
Oh my
USA, they don't call
God.
it the least coast, and the West
Oh,
Coast, the best coast. But hey, it's 9:22 in the morning here, so yeah, I know I'm really digging myself a big hole this morning with everybody. But I think that anybody that would like disagree with me would probably be acting out of emotion, though, and it would only bother them because they weren't secure in those thoughts and knew that there was a presence that I
Oh,
was
whatever, Larry.
understanding I'm the one guy they'd ever talk to that has no judgment, so it wouldn't be like anybody else they'd have to hear say that. So I know it can be frustrating for people. I understand.
I'm not commenting. I'm staying
Whatever.
out of it.
It's all good. If you're on the best coast and I'm on the least coast, whatever.
We're all one coast. We're all one. We gotta
We're
have
all
a little
Right.
fun to pass the time away.
But anyway, we are at the top of the hour now, and I think we've had an awesome discussion. We got to know a lot about you. I would be very interested in possibly doing this again in the future if we can get everything technically worked out and times available and all that.
That's
Absolutely.
another thing, isn't it, Bridget, with the energies? Bridget can attest to this. These energies with messing with technology, it's just crazy. You get a few star seeds together, and it really, and I don't know, it does the craziest things. I mean, little things go wrong that you could never imagine with such a simple process.
Right. We had way too many things this morning that even for Sif to be involved into it, it was like, come on. Like, it's at least I felt better about the fact it wasn't just me being stupid. It was really that something was wrong.
True.
So, on that note, Dolly, could you let everybody know, like, where they can find you, the name of your page, if they can connect with you through email or whatever? I know a lot of people are probably going to want to talk to you or have questions, and if you're open to that, you could share where you are available to be talked to. Hello?
Hello, Dolly. Are you there? Yeah. We might have to say it for her where she can be found. She can be found on Facebook. We know that.
And I know she did make a Gmail account this morning to do the Hangouts.
We do know that.
But I don't know. Oh, she left the call. Maybe she'll pop back in.
Gmail now. And yeah.
Yeah. So, Larry, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, and we'll give her an opportunity to pop back in.
They can find yours truly, Rocken, Larry Locken, at every Pleiadian group imaginable under the sun on Facebook. The best way you can do it is go to a specific page called rough.pleiadian.com. No. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. That was I'm gonna give your dog some kudos for that. You can find me at larry.locken.wix.com at Pleiadian Express Pro, not Ductions, PleiadianExpressPro.com. But basically, go onto Facebook, go to Pleiadian Groups and Pages page. There's also a group called the Groups and Pages Index I created as well, but I only created that at the time because icons weren't showing up on pages back then. But the simplest thing to do is go to Pleiadian Groups and Pages page, and you can see all the 40 groups or so that I created and whatnot, and all the 20 pages. And you can also go to the two YouTube channels, Pleiadian Light Grid Project and Pleiadian Express Productions, a YouTube Google channel, and of course it's so early in the morning I'm kind of rum-dum. There's also Facebook pages by that name as well as, like I said, all the other regional Pleiadian groups, one of them which happens to be Pleiadians UK. So yeah, that's it. Everywhere and anywhere, but nowhere at all in one, never beginning nor ending now moment. So Bodacious Bridget, where can they find you?
Well, thank you very much, Larry. I think that maybe Dolly had some issues, but she is on Facebook as Dolly Indigo Star Deeming, and she is the page owner at Star Children. So if you're looking for her, just type into the search Star Children and like her page, and I'm sure she'll answer your messages. She answered mine. And I will try to connect with her at another point so we can talk about more information, and we can share that in the YouTube video so that we can link to her. But you can find me at becreativelyu.com. I have my Facebook page as Bridget Rao. I have another page that's Divine Essentials where I share like mini readings, intuition tests. You can join the long distance healing that I send out. We have changed the Blu-ray show to be Pleiadian Essentials show now, so if you've liked that in the past, you are already on it. If you would like to join and like that, you can go to Pleiadian Essentials show. I am in a myriad of groups with Larry. I'm not even sure which ones I admin and which ones I don't. I just approve what I see and go from there. I do have the Pleiadian Northeast, Moonaki Writes with Bridget, and you can email me at divineessential@gmail.com, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's about it. And my phone's ringing, but I'm going to hit mute. So if that happens, It happened in the middle of a channeling the other night. So all right, Bridget, I think we should send everybody away with a big cosmic dating game kiss.
Awesome. Mwah.
Namaste, Estman.